Okay, not sure if anybody's here yet, but looks like it is live. I think I was thinking about putting music on. Not quite sure which one to choose yet, but I'll just wait and see if anyone does come in, and maybe they don't want music, then we won't. Okay. Well, what we have here is a Bettie Page drawing. I actually found this when I was doing a bit of a purge in the studio. It was a sketch, originally pencil and paper sketch, which I can show you right here. Pencil and paper sketch that I found. Didn't get around to doing it on another Halloween. Things have just gotten in the way. So we have this kind of, well, I suppose the paper looks like I could see in better days, I suppose, but I figured if I just scanned it or took a picture of it, I could use it in Procreate. So I just took a photograph and decided to use it. And what I did was just drew over the top of it to get this line artwork. In order to do that, if I take that away, bring the sketch back up, what I did was I just reduced the opacity, and then I put another layer to draw on for the actual line art. I just selected a studio pen. You can find that in the inking section on Procreate on the menu for the brushes. And you can set the size over the left here. See the slide bar changing. So you can have it kind of thin lines, or you can have really thick lines based on what you select over here. You can also have the opacity of the ink change as well, but for this I left it at full opacity instead of having it quite kind of faded and grayed out. Anyway, let's get rid of those. So that's what I did for that. And just as an example, it's just a case of tracing over what you have. Now with this one, I had a costume that I wasn't so sure I wanted. So I decided to just ignore that, especially this area, wasn't keen on that. So let's get rid of those. Go back to the one that I did. I just decided to make it just a full dress. So that's how I ended up with this sketch. So that's where we are with that at this point. And what I was going to do was actually color it on this live. But since I'm probably going to be a little bit more quiet, let's see if we can find some music to put on here. Can't find the music at this moment. Let me see. Here we go. There's a possibility that you may see cats wandering around. Actually, get this out of the way now. This is Mr. Jingles. He's liking to climb on everything, so you might actually see me having to wrestle him out of the way of what I'm doing, but he does like to carry on to whatever you're doing. One of our other cats likes to be loud, so get ready for that. Okay, so I'm going to do another layer so I can start doing color. Also what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the sketch that I've done because I don't want to have any accidents with what I've already done and I have to try and fix that. So I'm also going to lock this one, the original, so then nothing will happen with that, it won't get drawn on. And also hide that using the little checkbox over here that actually makes the layer disappear, makes it invisible. With this layer, see what I'm turning on and off, I'm going to make this a reference layer just to see if it's easier for it to just drop colors in. So once you have the reference, as you can see, the second layer down, also saying layer 3, it says reference now. Anything that you drop in, you drag and drop colors, it should stay within the lines that you're dropping it into. That's the theory. So what I'm going to do is, let's start with maybe dropping the skin color in. We're just going to do basic colors and see, we'll just take it from there. The best thing to do is just start dropping colors. And as you can see, that's on a different layer to the reference, but it's still remaining in the lines. There's no lines on this top layer 3 that I did, but it's still keeping within the lines because I've got the layer listed as a reference. I've changed it to that. I'd also grab some colors, this top palette, you'll see it's called Betty. I just grabbed a few colors while I was drawing this to think maybe they're kind of Halloween colors for me. We can use those as a base. What I'm actually doing here, I don't know if it really is obvious. With these colors, when you select it, up at the top, I can find with this little mouse here, you just click on this and you drag it over to wherever you want to put it in. So if I wanted to drop this green into the leaves, I just drag it over. Now sometimes if it's not going directly into the area that you want to fill, it could mean that there's a gap in your line art, and I do that a lot. I'm not a line artist at all. I usually just color like I would with something regular. So if you look here, you can see that gap. So let's close that gap up. Oh, hold on. That's me, that the gap should be closed on here. Back to the black. Close that gap. Go back onto the color layer. There we go. So yeah, it can happen if you suddenly find the wrong area coloring in when you drag the color over. That just means that you've likely got a gap in your line art. See, there's another gap in here that I can see. Let's go back to that layer. Let's check the other ones while we're here. There's a gap there. Actually, we don't need this line. Do not need that. Yeah, and be aware of your layers. Like you saw there, I have a habit of just not checking those layers. So you need to keep your colors on this one. And this is why it's a good reason, like I said earlier, keep that other layer locked, your original one, so you don't do anything to it. Because it can happen, things go wrong. What I'm going to do while I'm on here, let's see if we can change the name of this with a rename. layer 3 color, that works. And there's a section at the top here where you can do color drop, and you tap it and you can just keep tapping the different areas for a faster way of coloring this in. I wonder, maybe try let's do them white and purple, black and purple. Oh, I've got one here that shouldn't be. Oh, that was a gap, I see. Let's erase that. Or do I do white? Do I do black? Good thing with digital is that I can try even more. I can also seal this image up too with this. On the reference layer, I could actually close that gap in case I want to keep changing it. So let's go back to that. Let's take off reference. Oh, here you go. I think you're one of the first people to show up and actually say something here. I appreciate that. Ooh, there you go. So how you doing, Hugo? Hope everything's good.
I just want to relax. Need to fun.
Everything is good indeed. Hope the same is true with you. Yes, Hugo, I'm doing okay. I'm glad that I'm getting to do some lives. You know, on it's out of clock. It's out of clock so that whenever my health allows it, I can come on and do something like this and get to know some people a little better and let people see what I do. But I'm glad everything's good with you. So yeah, I'm undecided with the stripy pattern for these stockings for Bettie Page here. I think I like the white. Let's see, let's try that again. Yeah, I think I'm going to stay with the white for now. Let's try and get a nice brown for this broom that she's sitting on. You can just use what we've got on here, maybe some of this orange and green mixed together. Let's find out. Let's find a better mixing brush. Let's do this just a big round brush, but not too big. Yep. And some black. Hugo saying, I keep wondering what makes Bettie Page so recognizable. Is it her dark hair and shape of her bangs? I honestly think it was the hair. There's a story behind the bangs. There was somebody who she did a photo shoot with before she had the bangs, and they suggested it, and she went ahead and did it, and she did them real short. And it kind of took off from there, but I also think it was her kind of wild side as well that got her out there, and just her look, definitely the dark hair and the bangs, but her attitude was definitely something. Hey, George with a J, you made it. I'm so glad you made it. I was wondering if you would. What's up? Bettie Pages, what's up? How's George been? I've seen George all over the place. He's been working it. He's been everywhere. 2 places, 3 places at once. I can hardly keep up. I'm sure I've missed him in a few places, but he's a busy man, is George. Oh, thank you. So that looks great already. Yeah, this is just like the base color that I put down, just decide kind of what I'm doing. The next step is to start adding shadows, and I have like a way of doing that I don't know if you could say it's kind of like a cheat, but I don't know, maybe it is. But I'll show you a quick example of the plan. If you take this color layer and you duplicate it, then go to the opacity. It also gives you different options. You see how it's changing? Gives you lots of different options to do crazy stuff. If you go to the top and go to multiply, see how it really changes it? It's a bit intense. So what I tend to do is I'll just drop that down a little bit with the opacity. Just take it about halfway down. So now we've got 2. You've got the multiplied layer on the top. If you remove it, you see how it lines up and it darkens down again when you put it back. So what we want to do is only have some of this top layer showing to start doing some shadows. So if you click on this, mask it, you get a masking layer on the top of that one. Click on that, invert it, you'll see that it's gone light again. It looks just like the layer underneath. At the top right, you've got this palette now that your color palette is changed to white. It needs to be white because you're going to use that on the actual mask. So I like to go to the soft brush, put in some nice shadows. Soft brushes, if anyone's using Procreate, you find those in your airbrushing. There's lots of different airbrush options in here. The soft brush is usually my go-to. It's just a nice brush. Now, I don't want it too massive, but on the side here, this is where you change the size of the brush. You can also change the opacity of it down here, but I'm just going to leave it at the opacity at 100 because the pencil I'm using is kind of pressure sensitive, so I can change it that way. So just as an example, see if I scribbled over that, the top half of it has gone dark. I'm just only doing that because I don't want all that. It's just the best way for you to see. The shadows, you got to decide where the shadows would be. So you got to decide where your light's going to be to get your shadows. So I'm going to say that the light's coming more from the left as you're looking at it. So I want some shadows on the other side. So her face would probably get in the way of that arm. So I'm going to start darkening down here. You can also use the eraser and put harder edges in if you want in some areas, or you can do soft areas. You can erase the mask as well, so you can actually start putting in and taking out parts that you don't need. So that's how I like to add the kind of form. And sometimes you want to mask this off as well in certain areas, because you don't always want to just have it like, if I wanted to do under her jaw, you don't want it to like go onto the jaw as well, just like that, because that's not what you want to go for. So you can actually use up at the top, you'll see where the it's like an S symbol, now in blue, brings up this menu at the bottom, and you can freehand with the selection tool. So if I wanted to, which I do, you see around her jawline, I'm now drawn around there because I don't want the shadow from her neck to go onto her face. So I just want to keep it within here, so I'm just going to let it go down here a bit. So now I've just got under her jaw selected. So now if I scribble across her face, there's nothing actually going on there. So if you see this, the mouse thing, if I was to be scribbling across that, you wouldn't see it. Once I start going under here, that's when you should start to see the shadow. And now I don't have to worry about going up onto her face. And you can do the same for the shadows on her face, like select around her features for things that you don't want. But I haven't done a lot on the face because I'm going to actually probably freehand that with just coloring. So there's a lot more to do there. Yeah, the brushes are good. Honestly, saying the brushes are dope. They are. I mean, you can actually make your own brushes on this as well, and I'm sure with other programs. But I'm just used to using Procreate. But the brushes, I actually have. Let me see, where is mine? Here, Lou brushes. I've got all sorts of things that I made when I was messing around. All these different things, bat brushes. Like if I wanted to have. Here's the bats. Let's see. Do it down here. Oh, brown bats aren't so good. Let's make them black. Yeah, I drew the bats out and I can just throw bats in if I want. You can make some crazy brushes, just like stamp it on, different sizes, crazy stuff. But then there's other ones where you can actually, I don't know if you can see, actually more hair textures and things like that. Yeah, I really liked the ease of making the brushes on this. You just go into the program and it shows you all these different options, taper, shape, color dynamics on it. And the only thing I would recommend is go in and just like experiment. Go in and just like mess around. Just make stuff. So, okay, let's get back into this. Remember to get back to the white of this masking and the soft brush. So it's quite subtle, but if you look down where the legs are, again, I'm putting more shadow in this area, just using the same technique. It gives me an idea as to where I maybe need to add more shadows, but it's a really good way of just quickly getting everything filled out. And the fact that it's on another layer allows you to just change it at any point or just delete it. Talented folks make it look so simple, but simple isn't easy. Actually, I think it definitely is a talent to make it look easy. I still feel like a complete novice with this at times, but I just enjoy it. Making things look simple is definitely a talent, but depending on how long you've been doing it, it's just one of those things that if you're willing to put the time in and practice, then it's probably going to look easy. Great tips. I stopped coloring digitally ages ago because I couldn't figure out how to keep everything separated without going into other parts of the drawing. Yes, that's a thing that, I mean, when you do traditional art, it's like when you're a kid and you start coloring, they're like, don't go over the lines. So you get really proud when you can stay within the lines, and then you start doing this digital and it's all over the place. One thing that I do is if there's colors and things going on, I'll sometimes just like think, okay, I don't want to destroy those colors, I'll lock a layer up. I don't want to destroy the sketch, I'll lock a layer up, which is what I've done with this one. You can see that it's got a lock next to it. It's exactly the same layer to the one above. I just duplicated, I just did a duplicate here. You can just, as long as you've got enough layers to do that, I would definitely recommend saving your layer. And then if everything goes wrong or you can't undo enough times, you can just go right back to that one and put it back where it was. And you haven't lost anything. So that's one thing I would recommend, is definitely duplicate and lock things up. Because once it's locked, you can't draw on it, you can't do anything. You can't color within the lines. That's why I stopped coloring on paper too. I can't color within the lines. You know, I had somebody, my friend in England got me a coloring book. It's one of the adult coloring books. So unless I change the theme on here, I probably can't show you it, but I did start coloring that in. And I kind of got that paranoia from being a kid, like stay in the lines, you know, don't ruin it. And then I started photocopying the images so I could just do it and not be stressed. But maybe if I show those designs, that'll be on a totally different show. I feel like it's around somewhere. I was looking at it the other day because this is my like annual purge of the art studio. This is the reason this piece came about. I actually found the sketch, which if I take everything away and bring that up, that was the original sketch that I found. You can see all the paper creases and everything, and I just photographed it and then transferred it by adding the lines, and now we've got the colors. As you can see, if you take the mask layer off as well as I went through, so yeah, my annual purge of stuff was kind of a good timing when I found this one for Halloween. So freaking cool. Well, thank you. I do actually have speaking of going through old images, I do actually have a sketch that I was working on for you, George, with Russ, and then a few other things got in the way, but it is in the works. I just need to get back to it. There's a lot of things I need to get back to with this. You're the best. Thank you so much. I'm sure it'll come out insane. Oh, thank you, George. Yeah, I'm sure it'll come out okay. I don't know if I'll be finishing it today on the live. I'll get as far as I can with it, and I'll probably end up doing a few more rendering things to it offline. But I'll definitely be posting this one, so you'll see it. Oh, when did I do the Betty sketch? Probably. Oh, I think it might have actually been before 2020 or maybe 21. But a lot of things got away from me back then when I would do so. I'd get so far with something, and then I would start struggling because I was having a lot of issues with my eyes, and it didn't feel great to be trying to work on things, and I wasn't getting the images to where I used to be able to get them. It was really frustrating. And if I'm honest, I didn't really like anything that I was doing, so I just stopped because I didn't like hating it. Then I had to do a lot of different things, surgeries as well, dealing with that. So I struggled a lot with my eyes. Managed to find a nice new eye surgeon and a really cool optician who set me up with some much improved glasses that I could see. So now I'm kind of getting back into things over the last like 6 months. Definitely has improved. Even when I was doing the duties for Sam, I was still struggling with my eyesight, but I was able to do a lot of them on Procreate because of this zoom feature. It was helping, and I had another magnification thing that I was using. But I'm in a better situation now with people who understood what was going on, and they've managed to help me out, so I appreciate that. But yeah, there's a few sketches that I'm going back on now that I just think, wow, that was years ago. But that's a good thing when you go back and you look at something that maybe it wasn't the time to do it right then, but the time is now. So I wouldn't ever suggest anyone just like trash anything or think that it's never ever going to come out of wherever it is, because you just never know. That time will be right and you'll find a way of doing it. That's how it works out for me anyway. Yeah, I mean, if anyone, I suppose just talking about my eyes and surgery, I suppose I should probably point out for anyone watching who doesn't know or watches in the future, I have glaucoma, and it's two rare kinds, like, ooh, winner. It's two rare kinds, so it makes things a little bit awkward. So I had to have a lot of eye surgery in order to make sure that it didn't take any more of my sight away. I can still see straight ahead. I have a thing now called anisoconia, which makes I see one image a completely different size to the other, so that can be fun. I look like I have vertigo if I try just standing up normally, not really concentrating on what I'm looking at. I can look like I've maybe had too much to drink too, which, I mean, it's just weird. It's awkward, but that's what's going on. I've got a few odd things going on with my eyes, but you know, you find workarounds. It's not too bad. I could be in a lot worse of a situation, so I'm not going to complain too much. As I said, I can still see. Some people aren't as fortunate. What I will say is that if you have anyone in your family that is a glaucoma patient or anything, like, make sure that you're getting tested too, because that stuff can be hereditary, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just get it. It's just the way, just the luck of the draw. So always get your eyes checked. Let them do that thing where they blow your eyeball with the puff of air. It's not that scary, I promise. There's a lot worse that they can do. But make sure it doesn't happen to you, because even though you don't see any signs of eye disease for glaucoma, that doesn't mean you haven't got it, because that's what happened with me. You don't see the signs, so you need to get the checkups just because of that. It's also called the sneaky thief of sight. So I think that kind of explains it. It sneaks and takes your sight without you even noticing. So beware. But for me, it was hereditary, so, you know, it wasn't a surprise when it showed up for me. And if I can get surgery to fix it, anyone can, because I was a proper crybaby. Oh, I was terrified, proper crybaby when I found out. Didn't like anyone looking at my eyes anytime. You gotta look after them. Definitely take care of your eyes, artist or not. That's from Hugo. Yes, it definitely. It doesn't matter whether you need them for drawing or not. I mean, life in general for me is weird now with having all the stuff going on. I can't really be outside without sunglasses. Just daylight is horrible. I've got it nice and dim in here, so I've got. I mean, I'm assuming you can see me, but I couldn't sit with like those lights that people use online when they're doing the lives. That's not really something I would be able to do. It would be really painful. It's difficult for me to look at computers for a long period of time if I can't put the dark mode on, if I can't turn the brightness completely down. As you can see when I'm doing these drawings, I don't have the background white because that's too painful. And that transfers over to any kind of thing you're doing in life. Just going out and always having your sunglasses on. I mean, yeah, I know I'm in Texas, but it's just, even on a dull day and late in the evening, and people just think I'm probably trying to be too cool for school, or I think there's other reasons for the sunglasses which have been mentioned to me, but that's another thing. People can be quite ignorant, so if you don't want to have to deal with that, yeah, look after your eyes. A lot of people just don't understand. Hugo's saying, but Lou, you are too cool for school. Well, I appreciate that. I am never too cool to be schooled. I need to learn stuff. This is one thing that you'll find if you're really into creating things, you're always looking for improvement for yourself. You just have to. I could never think I'm too cool for anything. I think I'm far from it, actually. Really far from it. But yeah, if I could go back to school, odd thing is, I don't know if I would necessarily go back there for art. I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but I'm always looking online for what people are doing, how they're doing it. Are they doing anything different? I'm definitely into work smarter, not harder. I think that's definitely a good thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this as well is just so I get a bit of a better idea as to how it's going to look towards the end, because colors can change when you add things like backgrounds. So I'm going to look at putting in maybe a moon or something. I do like putting circles behind things. You probably noticed that on some of my other things, but I'm thinking maybe a moon might be nice behind her. So I'm going to drop it behind the actual layers that I'm using. So I'm going to add another layer in. This is layer number 7. And let's just call it moon. Yep. That looks like a nice color. It's like a bit of a yellowy color. Let's see, we can always change it, but let's get that round brush in. Oh, and this is a great way of doing circles in Procreate. You can do any kind of odd shape. You see that's a terrible circle, but if you just hold the pen on it, it will close it. What I'm doing right now is I'm putting my finger on the screen. It's changed it into a nice circle, and I can slide the pencil I'm using to change the size. I can also just drop some color in the middle of it. Hold on. Drop in the middle. Let's see if I can. No, it doesn't want to just color it in the middle. Let's see. No. Oh, I'll tell you why. It's because layer 3, I believe, is still a reference. Let's see if that makes a difference. No. Oh, here we go. I've got to be on there. There we go. So yeah, because the other one was on reference layer. It was just thinking I was putting color on the outside of Bettie Page, but that was why it was confused. So that moon's on a separate layer. I can go and move this around as well if I wanted it somewhere else. If I want to make it smaller, I could. I kind of like it big though. Now we can soften it up as well. You can duplicate that. Go back to the other one. I'm going to go up to the top left. There's like a magic wand thing there. There's a thing here called Gaussian blur. You can do a slide to get a bit of a glow around it. I can also do it on this one as well to soften that one up. And just do it a little less. And then I can just merge those together. And now I've got a soft glowing moon behind. Behind that, I could add another layer. And I could pick a darker color, maybe like a different kind of blue, maybe a little darker. See the values on it. Drop it down a bit. We can always change this as well. But just drop it on the whole layer, and there we've got kind of a nice, kind of darker, kind of evening color sky maybe. So you can start to kind of see that colors can kind of change as well depending on what you put in on the background. So if we took that out, you can see how some of it kind of makes those colors pop that we've already got in there. Especially like the blue and the orange, that's a nice contrast. And I think the yellow in the moon and the purple in the tights, I think that's a good contrast. So let's go back to the mask and see if there's anywhere else that we can add some shadows. For now, I think we've probably done all the shadows we can, so I'm going to merge that mask down. And I'm just going to be brave and merge that down as well and keep that as it is. Now I'm going to do more shadows, so I'm going to do exactly the same process. I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to multiply it. I'm going to drop it down a little bit because it's a little bit intense. Take about 35%, I think we might do it. Put a mask on it. Invert the mask. Back to that soft brush. And start adding more shadow. Just go over the top of the shadows that we already had. And it makes them pop even more. Here this says, so the radiating of the moon is the Gaussian blur. So yeah, Gaussian blur is just it's just an effect where basically it's just blurring all the pixels. So if you see the edges on this now, it's almost like it's airbrushed. If you're actually using an airbrush on actual canvas or something, you can get that effect. You can also just get the effect with this soft brush as well if you wanted to be adding actually let's go to that one and you'll be able to see it. So you could add more of a glow if you wanted just with the brush, but one of the easiest and subtle ways is to just do it with the Gaussian blur effect. And Gaussian blur is pretty good if you just want things in the background to look more like they're in the background. You just make them blurry. Now I'm going to see if there's anything else that I can do here that would just maybe get some highlights obvious in here. And there is a thing that I found. Let's just merge this first. Merge these two layers, merge that down. And now we're going to try and do the opposite, but we're still going to duplicate this color layer, but I'm going to look for something that does the opposite. So instead of going up here for multiply, I am looking for this option called screen. You see how that makes it kind of a lot lighter? If I go to normal and go to screen, it lightens it. So we're going to use that option on here and just see if that makes any difference. So we're going to do the same, mask it, invert it, and then just see what we can do. Now, yeah, it does make an impact on there. You can get a little bit more of a highlight showing up. I don't know if it's something that's showing up on the... If I undo it, put it on again, you can see that it added a bit of a highlight on her arm, on her right arm. So undo and then redo. It puts a bit of a highlight there. And now same with the other arm, I can just lighten it a little bit more. Same with on the stockings. Could brush down on her right leg at the top. I can add a bit of a sheen there. You can go in on the pumpkin, see if it does anything on here. And what I like about using these options is when I go in again and start messing with more painterly type of things, I've already got some colors that are working. The palette's kind of complementing itself already. So I don't have to keep going in and looking for different colors that are going to work. Because that's one thing I don't really like when I get out of control with colors. I try and keep a limited palette so that if I do need to go and mix something else, I can mix it within what I've got on the page already. And not the Bettie page, I mean the page. I suppose that's the same. Anyway, if I look at the palettes that I have, like this top one, these are the only colors that I decided I was going to be interested in using. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to use all of them, but those were the ones that kind of, I decided that was what I was going to try. And I haven't gone in really and selected much else other than trying to mix things and see how close it is when I actually go into this disc color, or maybe actually the one I prefer is this one, where I can actually just use the dials to just make it dark and make it more saturated. I prefer that because I feel like if you do that, you've got a better chance of getting the colors to work. But that's just me, maybe, but that's how I see it. And then having those colors on there, I can actually sample. You just hold your finger on the screen and you can actually sample the colors. So a new color that's created, as you can see, that's the color sampler popping up. That brings up another orange that I could use. Let's go onto a layer that's not masked. So now you can see the top right, the little color dot on the top right is now selected that color I placed my finger on. If I wanted to, if I like that color and wanted to keep that and just keep going back to it in case I'll lose it in this painting, I can go to my palette and I can just tap it in and it just appeared on the end. So now I've got another color that was created from darkening down the colors that are already on there and highlighting colors that are already on there. And then if I wanted to, I could just paint with that color. Now, when I can't get a highlight, like if you go back to the mask, it's going to be hard. I'm trying to get some lightening on the black dress, the black hat. There's nothing you can really do once you've put black in. So what I would have to do then is just lighten it. But I would select the select black, and then I can go in and I can just lighten it a bit. And because it's a blue black, if I went all the way to the right, you can see that it's going to show me blue. I can lighten it up a bit, and I can take some blue out by taking the saturation down. And I can find something that would work. as a highlight. You see here on the dress. What I could do is lock this up. Let's put the alpha lock on layer 3, the color one. So now it won't allow me to paint over anything but the color that's already on there. As you can see, nothing went across onto the moon. If it's not locked, it just goes all over. So we'll be safe and lock it up. And let's see maybe what that looks like down the side. Would a kind of this lighter blue work on here? And I can always select the black and blend it back in, take it back a bit. So there's things you can do to find highlights. It's more obvious if I use that round brush for you to see it, but if I want to build it up subtly, I tend to just use that soft airbrush option. Yeah, see, definitely quicker with the effect. Yeah, the Gaussian blur. Yeah, and it's neater as well, and it's more consistent. It's just easier, like I said, work smarter, not harder. While such a small change makes quite a striking difference. It is, yeah, it's just subtle differences that do make the actual piece work or not work. You were Bob Rossing the ish out of this piece, and I love it. Happy little accidents. Happy little accident that I happened to find this piece in a little stack of stuff. I've got a few more that I need to pull out and maybe do some stuff with this. And also I might even do this as an actual watercolor piece at some point. But this is just the neater option and easier, because once I'm done for like this session, I just pick up the iPad and put it in the drawer. That's it. I don't have to empty out water, clean up paint stuff, find somewhere for things to dry, stop the cats getting on things. This is my lazy option. So when it comes to cleaning anyway, this is my lazy option. Okay, so what shall we do next with this to make it pop even more? Let's do some stuff with the face. Her face has been neglected a little bit. Can't neglect Betty's face. So a lot of these lines I'm going to probably end up getting rid of. Because I don't think they're necessary. That's why I don't call myself a line artist, because the lines rarely stay. So I'm going to go on another layer for this. Let's actually merge this one as well. Let's just merge that. Let's do another one. Here we go. To our layer 7. See, another thing that I have to try and keep reminding myself is when I zoom in this amount, you can see it's quite pixely. No one's really going to be looking at it like this. So I need to keep looking back at how it's going to look as it's small. Because unfortunately, when this ever gets posted, we'll post this, people are going to scroll past it and it's going to be so small. They're not going to be looking in to see what face has, what kind of details on the face. So I'm just going to make this work at that distance. And I have to remind myself not to get caught up on the details at this point. Because I think if you're seeing pixels, you've got a problem if that's what you think people are going to be looking at. They're not. But this is not going to look like this once it's done. But I'm just putting in things right now that I think would definitely help at a distance. Things that people would actually see, things that I can actually make work. Like, for example, I'm not going to draw every single eyelash because you don't see that. And when you look at someone regularly in the street, you don't see every single eyelash. So, yeah, I have to keep reminding myself not to get too hung up on a lot of the details. And a lot of these lines will be painted out. See, at this point, that brush is like a pixel brush. You don't really want to be doing everything pixel by pixel. And again, I'm just going to go in with the multipliers. You can see it really darkens it down. A lot of things I'm probably going to erase and take out. Just a few of the areas that I want to increase a little bit with the intensity on the color. Let's see what this does. It's got it right. This is another cool thing you can do with Procreate. You can make a clipping mask above a layer that you already have, and that also stops you coloring over whatever you've got. So with this kind of light blue color, let's get something that makes it more obvious, this round brush. If I was to color over it, again, it's not going over the outside of the actual dress, because what it's doing is keeping everything on the layer underneath, which is just what already has been colored. If you don't have it as a clipping mask, then it just goes everywhere. So we make it a clipping mask. I can go in again and start maybe doing some more to that highlight, making it maybe a bit more blue. Just put some more color on there. Okay. So just looking at the time there, I think it's coming up to close to what, like 2 hours, I think, I've been doing these. So I'm thinking I'll probably leave it at that for now, because I do need to take a break. There's only so much I can do because my eyes start to actually hurt, and I think I'm past the time when I'm supposed to put eye drops in. So I should probably do that. My plan next is, again, do more multiply, just as I did earlier with the masking, inverting, using this soft brush, and bringing in more shadows. As you can see, that goes even darker if you want to leave it without dropping the opacity, which I might want to do for some of the areas like around the broom, just to get some of those browns a little bit more dark and maybe get a little bit more texture. And that is another thing that I like to do. I like to put a bit of texture in. For example, I don't just like it looking too smooth. I like to use the 6B pencil, and I like to actually add highlights with that, because it does have a little bit of more of an interest to it. It's got a little bit of texture going on. So if you were to, okay, I'll try on the top. If you were to like go in with the actual pencil, you can do some lighting from the side, as you can see. And it's got a nice rough look. You could also do it, maybe wanted to highlight some areas on the broom. You can add more highlight areas there as the moon's reflecting off it, maybe, and give it some texture. And this is just rough. You can add texture to the pumpkin. I quite often like to do like on the edges of like even fabrics, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. So that's kind of where I'm going to take it next. I don't tend to use pure white on a lot of highlights. I'm going to have to darken these down a little bit, which that's doable. I just need to take more of the color that's in those lower lights. As you can see, the comparison there, it's not quite white. I just need to add more of that. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there for now and come back to it maybe on a live, or maybe just post it once I've rendered it a bit more. I really wanted to just kind of show how I put things together to build it up, how I'm rendering. And maybe I will bring this back for another live if anybody's interested. In fact, if you are, let me know. Like, leave a comment and I'll come back and do this live, maybe even tomorrow or the day after. But yeah, I appreciate those who showed up, and anyone else who's watching in the future. Definitely appreciate you giving it a look. What we got here? Coming out great. Can't see it. Can't wait to see it finished. That's from George. Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait to see it finished either. I'm always like that with my stuff, but I'm just really starting to need a break right now. And Hugo agrees with George. The change from when I came in about an hour ago is mind-blowing. So glad you shared your process and time with us, Lou. Oh, you're welcome. That's the thing. It's seeing the process. It is interesting, and to see the difference. That's why I like to post a lot of the short videos where you actually just see it being created. But this iPad records it either full length, or it allows you to do a 30-second recording of whatever you've done. So it does go by really fast. When it comes down to actually doing the process, we were close to like 2 hours with some talking as well. And then we've also got more to do with this. So I would say maybe another hour or maybe 2, and this would be where I would want it to be. Hugo's about to head out. He will lurk. I don't mind you lurking. If you want to lurk, that's fine. George says, I agree, Hugo. Lou's got serious skills. I try. I really do. Peace out, my friends, from George. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to finish this, as I said. I'm just needing a break. But if you would like to see more of it, it'll probably, like I said, take maybe another hour or so to put it where it needs to be. And you're quite welcome to hang out and see that process. So I do appreciate everyone who's visited, anyone who's visiting in the future, as I said. Feel free to check in with me. I'm fine, I don't bite, I love questions. Yeah, thank you.